Winter months here, chilly in the morning. Get your nice warm clothes on. Turn your seat warmers on if you got them. It's nice. It's refreshing. It's good, fresh air. Topic today: leadership. What is a leader? Man, I've heard this thing thrown around so many times, and I feel like a lot of times people repeat a generic statement about what a leader is. And I see so many people in leadership positions that are not leaders. Um, Telling people what to do does not make you a leader. I mean, that is absolutely not at all a qualification of a leader to be able to tell others what to do. Maybe the courage and confidence to compel someone else by what you say to do a thing because it has value. Maybe that's a leadership quality, but just the telling people what to do, bossing them around, that's where that terminology comes from, is definitely not a quality of a leader. And unfortunately, there are a lot of those people out there. They tell people what to do and they expect it to be done. That's more entitlement than anything. I think, in my opinion, in my experience, leadership ultimately is, and I hate the word followers, but it's true. It just captures the essence of what I'm trying to say. But leaders create followers, and most importantly, leaders create followers that become leaders, or I should say mature into leaders. I think people always have that in them, but they mature into leaders and then they create followers themselves, and then cultivate leaders from those followers. And that's the best way that I can describe a leader. Some of the little nuances of a leader are: one, someone who takes accountability for the things that they are experiencing around them and can add clarity to those experiences for themselves and, most importantly, others, so that the group as a whole has a clear vision of what is to be expected, to what is the objective for all of us, and what it is that is needed to achieve this objective, and then have a shared understanding and acceptance of commitment towards that objective. And that's missed a lot in leadership. And it's really sad, because what happens is you get somebody who does a really good job at one position or the other, right? Like, they're isolated, they perform very well as an individual, and then you say, hey, well, you know what? This guy has helped my company in this area, X, Y, or Z, and so I want to give them a shot at a leadership role. And unfortunately, without a lot of assessment and discovery about what that person can do and how they think and how they're going to lead, if you haven't been able to see them really lead a group of people rather than just themselves in a environment that asks them to achieve a certain result, right? Like, that's a very different distinction of success. Like, someone can be individually successful, but to be successful as a leader, it takes a lot of things and a lot of maturity in my eyes. It's very hard for somebody to become a leader without experience. And then on the other side of the coin, if someone ever doesn't get the opportunity to be in a role where they are challenged by many individuals and bringing them together to achieve an objective and learn how to communicate in those, it's very hard to know if they're going to be a leader. So it's kind of the hazard of promoting people, is you promote a person who's been successful as an individual, and based off what you've experienced and what you've seen, and their level of commitment to things, you hope that they can be a good leader. Unfortunately, that is not the case many times. Many of the times, the majority of the times, in my experience, leadership is not something that is learned easily. And and we end up pushing people into leadership roles or allowing people to lead longer than they should because we believe that they are on a learning cycle. Uh, One of the things that I see a lot is again the telling somebody what to do from the understanding that you know what needs to be done, with the lack of clarity around understanding that the person you are delegating something to understands what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and what is expected of you from them. And so that's where a lot of leaders fall short, or the quote unquote leaders that call themselves leaders. And what they end up causing is dissension, right? The leaders then believe that it is their job to judge people on their performance, which that is a responsibility of a manager to judge a situation and judge a person on their performance. But what they ultimately lack, most people I see in leadership roles, and it's really unfortunate because it causes a lot of stress, anxiety, and dissension from the staff, is that they think their judgments are the end all be all, and that what they say is clearly understood, and they go about making their judgments based off what they understand in their head, not what they understand about the team, the staff, the employees that they are delegating to, whether or not they actually understand the way in which they're going to go about a thing, how to go about that thing, when that it needs to be done, and then what ultimately is expected. That is a real definition of a leader, to be able to meticulously and empathetically, in my opinion, make sure that they understand how someone else understands what they're telling them to do, and then to reaffirm and confirm that a person is clear on the objectives and how they will get there and when they need to get there. And then only then can someone make a valid judgment, in my opinion, about someone's performance relative to whatever was delegated to them to get done or to achieve. So what I will say with this, and I think the important part of this, is the people who are who have a leader in front of them, somebody who in the hierarchy is in charge of them. And I hate these words, right? Subordinates and things of that nature, followers, employees, but it's the nature of the beast. It's how we signify the words. But I think over the years they've given a bad connotation, and people don't like being employees. People don't like being bossed. People don't like, feeling like they are told what to do. And that's inherently what happens with bad leaders, is they don't create people who believe in a mission and who feel they are a part of the mission and that they are crucial to the mission, because it is not conveyed that they are crucial to the mission, and that it's very important that that leader make sure they supply them with the support and the resources and the tools that they need to succeed. They are just told what to do and then judged when they don't get it done. And really, it's the leader's fault. It is the responsibility of the leader to make sure they succeed. It is not the responsibility of the person to just figure out how to succeed from a leadership role. Now, when you track back, it is the responsibility of an individual to take responsibility for their actions, and if they want to be successful in things and viewed as somebody accountable, take responsibility for themselves. But ultimately, in the leadership position, it's not about being responsible for yourself as an individual, which is the mistake, right? Like, I hold myself accountable. I'm clear to myself what needs to be done. It's more important that you are clear and you hold others accountable at the multitude level. So many people are held accountable, and you are able to clearly dictate and support an overall objective. And that is the power of a leader. It is not how well the leader does at delegating things. It's how well the leader conveys the message and compels others to fall into that, or to commit to the same objective and agenda and then maintain that level of accountability throughout for not just himself, but others as well. So hopefully that gives you some clarity on what leadership is. If you are a person out there who is under a quote unquote leader who continues to boss but never gives specific answers, never sets objectives, never gives clear requirements for a task and deadlines, and then yet continues to blame others on why they are failing, that is not a good situation. And mentally, that can really destroy a person. I know this because I have been in leadership roles for many years, since I was probably about 18 years old. I've led groups of people in a variety of objectives and industries, and so I know that in the beginning, I didn't understand a lot of these things, and I would just tell people to do things, and I thought that was the power, right? Like, I have the power, so I tell people to do things. But what I realized just innately as a person is that I compelled a lot of people to do things with me, because I clearly explained the opportunity, the upside, the value of doing a thing together. And then as I grew and matured as a leader, I learned to clearly communicate and then discover whether a person understood the objectives that I just set in front of them. And if they clearly were committed to achieving those objectives, and then if they also saw the value that I did. And as I continued to do that, I started gaining much more traction and having so much more of an impact in a positive way, not just on people's lives, but also in the business as well. And so what I can tell you from having been a person under leadership, that can really destroy the mentality and the spirit of a person, and the culture and the attitude and environment in a company or in any kind of structured setting. It's not your fault. Always take accountability for yourself, but it's not your fault that you have bad leaders. You need to find good leaders, but also just remember to be one yourself. So if you always hold yourself accountable like a leader, then it's important for you that when you're frustrated or something doesn't go right, that you have communications with those leaders. You respect the hierarchy until the hierarchy doesn't respect you, and then sometimes you have to supersede that. That's where the courage comes in that I talked about in the beginning. Courage is definitely a part of a leader, because sometimes you will have to go outside the status quo for the greater good of yourself and others. And if you are unwilling to do that, because everyone is capable to do it, if you are unwilling to do that, and also unwilling to do the self-discovery and endure the tough truths that need to be discovered within yourself before you take an action, to know if that action really is serving just you or is it serving the greater good. If you can do those things and you have the courage to do that, you will become a leader. If you cannot do those things, then it will be very hard for you to be a leader, and maybe one day you will fall in a leadership role, but then you will become like these leaders who just tell people what to do rather than educate, communicate, and lead other people to a unified understanding and a clear objective on what to do next. All right, well, hey, that's leadership today. I wanted to go on that rant. It's been on my mind. I hope that it adds value. I know it's long-winded, but what I say in this life, and people say, English is best expressed in the simplest language. Yeah, I agree that it can be, but I think most people don't think like that. Most people need a deeper dive into something to really understand it, and I think that most people just cower behind that simple explanation because they don't really understand it that well themselves. They don't really commit to others understanding it that well because they aren't willing to dive deep into it. So they, do quick little one-liners without any substance behind them. And unfortunately, that's pretty empty, in my opinion. So dig in, educate your people, communicate with people, find out where they're at. Maybe they're not on the same page as you. Not everyone is, and not everyone's going to be, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that they're not the right person or they're not in the right position. It just means you need to figure out what works best for both of you to achieve the same objective. and that may not always be straightforward, and that takes time and patience and the ambition to really communicate and understand others. Stay lavish, guys. Have a great day.